Hey everyone, hello and welcome to Millionaires Are Made, the show where we believe you can become a millionaire in all six aspects of health. We share tips to improve your mental, intellectual, social, spiritual, and financial health. And today our episode is on how to improve your physical health with nutrition. We've got some awesome guests here that are going to give some great tips on how to improve your physical health using nutrition. One of the hardest things if you love cakes and desserts that ever may happen, but hopefully we'll learn a little something to improve there. If this is your first time seeing Millionaires Are Made, this is a show built on the fundamental belief that every person you know or every person you meet knows something you don't, and there's something to be learned from everyone in this big, beautiful world. In the spirit of authenticity, we don't talk about tips or advice before the show starts, so each of our guests has their own walk of life and their own tips on how to improve your physical health with nutrition. I try not to even meet the guests or know who they are until half an hour backstage. Audience, if you're watching this, we'd love to engage. Please send comments and ask questions. We will answer them live on air with our guests. And if you are going through life and have a little something holding you back and you're struggling, shoot us a topic. Shoot us what your problem is. We will go out and find 3 guests and have an entire episode built to help you push through that. This episode is sponsored by an amazing company, Silver Fox Fitness. One of our viewers, Bob, is a 30-year fitness coach. He probably has some tips on nutrition too, so check out the link below if you would like. Bob's dedicated his life to teaching fitness and now is a huge blogger and a fitness coach. And without further ado, we are going to bring out our first guest. Her name is Dina. Dina, tell me
Hi,
who you
Austin.
are.
So, my name is Dina. I'm actually a former dietitian, but right now I'm a health and mindset coach, helping ambitious women actually realign their health, their fitness, their nutrition to actually optimize their health and confidence. And the reason why I love doing this is because I struggle with my health, I struggle with my energy, especially being an entrepreneur. And I really try to help women uplift and create unwavering confidence in themselves to actually succeed their goals. So, I'm really excited to be here and share my amazing number one tip I share with all my clients.
You have one tip you share with everyone. Let's go with it. If I wanted to improve my physical health with nutrition, Dina, what piece of advice would you give me?
No matter who the client is, no matter what they're going through, I get them back to basics by actually balancing their blood sugar level. And this is something I've been doing for 23 years. And I've seen such amazing changes that help my client when I actually bring that topic to them that many people don't actually talk about.
Okay, so you focus on blood sugar level. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
First, how do you measure that?
So, blood sugar level, of course, when we think blood sugar, we measure it through a machine if you have diabetes. That's how we see our blood sugar. But very
Okay.
often it's related to your hunger and your fullness signals and your energy level. So,
Okay.
imagine you have like a chocolate bar, your energy goes up, your blood sugar is up. But within 20 minutes, your energy is crashing, your blood sugar is going down. So, you're kind of on this crazy roller coaster of energy, which causes you
Okay.
to have more cravings, more fatigue, more brain fog, and this is where people struggle with overeating because they're always on that big roller coaster. The aim to balance your blood sugar is number one, are you actually eating in a regular pattern that you're never hungry and you're never full? And number two, there's a bestie situation. So this is something that I do every single day since I learned about this is whenever I'm eating, I always make sure I have a carbohydrate with a protein no
Okay.
matter what is going on in my day. My carbs give me energy, protein maintains my energy. And that actually helps me right now, being caffeine free for 2 years, maintain high energy levels without those sugar cravings and needing I remember I used to go like for 3 cups of coffee at one point because my energy is always down when I was a student back in the day.
So tell me
It's
about
okay
this.
to have coffee.
So
It
what
wasn't
kind
for
of
me
you always do a carb with a protein, right?
all the time.
So what's a typical snack or meal you have carb and protein? And do you add fats as well, or do you just do carbs and protein?
So what I do, all foods for me fit under carb, protein, and vitamins, and fat will come in naturally. So for example, my breakfast, I have eggs with vegetables and a pita bread. So eggs, I go for whole eggs. So you have your protein and your fat. And then I do always have my pita bread because being Lebanese, like pita is like my oxygen. So I always have pita
You
bread
make
with
your own
that.
pita
When I
bread?
have that balance, I'm feeling good for at least 2 to 4 hours. If I miss that balance, I get hungry within an hour. I get groggy. I get tired. And that's how you know that your blood sugar probably is crashing at that point.
Your own pita bread?
Honestly, I wish I could, but I don't. I buy it. I keep the experts doing that.
What would be a typical lunch for you?
So for me, lunch actually that I'll be having after our talk, I actually grilled chicken, and with that I have sweet potatoes and vegetables and rice on the side. So the protein comes with the chicken, and there's a bit of fat in there. I use fat in my salads or in my vegetables, but there's always that carb, and we often always say like carb is bad, carb you have to take out. Like for example, the keto diet. But you don't realize that you sometimes need 150 grams of carbs of glucose per day to function. 150 grams that actually what feeds your brain, that actually what feeds your muscle if you're training. So carb is not your enemy, it's more a partner, it's more support. It's just understanding how your body works. So I personalize that depending on my clients, but that combination, diabetes, overeating, PCOS, blood glucose intolerance, thyroid struggles, that has been my savior to a lot of my clients, helping them better understand going back to basics and healing their body and being able to eat better.
Tell me. So you said, the roller coaster throughout the day. Are those the glucose spikes?
So yeah, so you have the glucose spike and then you have the glucose crash. So think
Got
about it. When you have something like an apple, you digest it within 20 to 40 minutes. You're like, oh, I'm feeling healthy. My snacks, I'm just having 2, 3 fruits. But when you have that, your blood sugar is going up, but then it's crashing. And the thing is, when your blood sugar crashes fast, what does your body crave? More sugar. So if you feel like you're addicted to sugar, you have a lot of sugar cravings, it's probably that you're going through those spikes and those crashes and you're not eating enough protein. So imagine if you have that fruit with a piece of cheese or with nuts. Instead of going to that spike and that crash, you're mellow, you're chill, you're flowing. And this is really for optimal energy as an entrepreneur. If you're very busy, the last thing you want is to be crashing in the afternoon and then having that sugar and then feeling guilty about what you ate because you feel like you're trying to eat healthy, but what's calling you is that muffin or that cookie or that cake.
Interesting. Very cool. All right. So always have. So what other examples of good carbs are there? Because there's tons of bad carbs, right? Everyone hates carbs nowadays. What other
So
carbs do you recommend?
this is another thing, but I'll keep that maybe for another thing. There's no good food or bad food unless you're allergic to it. There's some that are more
Okay.
optimal than others, but we demonize food. And what happens when you demonize certain carbs? You end up overeating them when you're on a cheat day or you feel like you've had a bad day. So, always looking at what carbs is the variety. Like, for example, the morning I might have pita bread, you might have grains, rice, pasta, but cookies is a carb, cake is a carb. But again, how can you see it as a carb and then you add that glass of milk to it to balance your blood sugar? Because if we create
Okay.
normalization with food, like if you see cookie just as a cookie, you won't feel guilty and you won't feel like you need to eat the whole box of cookies. You can have 2, 3 cookies with a glass of milk and move on with your day. It might not have the same nutrients as an apple, but there's nothing bad in it because actually it feeds your soul and it's fun to have. Like, I don't believe we need to cut sugar. We need to actually take a step forward and see why do I crave sugar so much? And this is where the root cause of the problem is.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Where on your life journey did you learn this piece of advice?
So, unfortunately, I struggled with eating disorders when I was younger, and I went into dietetics to understand better what to do. And I didn't learn much other than good food, bad food, and measuring your, macronutrients. It's only when I started my private practice and I saw other people struggling with overeating, I was like, something is not right, something is unbalanced. So, I wish I knew the moment I found that answer. But that's when I was like, let me try this simple way. You're born needing that stability. As a baby, you eat every 2 to 3 hours. What if we bring that safety when we're adults? So it's by experimenting on myself in my early 20s and sharing that with my clients that I saw the amazing benefit of treating yourself like you treat a baby, balancing your blood sugar, eating regularly. And only then you can fine tune with more fiber, more protein, play around with it. But when you go back to basics and you get your body to trust you again, that's when we actually feel at our best and not going from diet to diet in our life. So in my early 20s, that's where I found this solution for me.
All right, question for you. We're talking about glucose spikes and being tired and energy. You have a big bowl of pasta, carbs with chicken or protein in it, and then you feel tired afterwards. Why and how do you prevent it? Not
So
asking for a friend, clearly.
I like that. Asking for a friend. The thing is, it's probably at the portion because you also have to balance things. I know you're like, so if you like, you even said it like a big bowl of pasta. When you have, for example, big bowl of pasta with that little piece of protein, it doesn't have enough oomph and support to balance that blood sugar. But if you
Should it
have
be like
one,
50-50?
so I would say 50-50. So the way that I balance things out to start, if you look at portions, so you've seen that like in the food guides, 1 carb for 1 protein. So let's say you have like half a cup of pasta for 3 ounces of meat. Okay, I want to have 1 cup of pasta with 6 ounces of meat. So you're able to balance it better. You should not have that crash. But a bowl of pasta, sometimes we kind of fill it up and we're going to be crashing because that little protein you had with it wasn't enough to actually prevent that sugar spike and that sugar crash that you're feeling after.
Awesome. Wow. Life changed, maybe.
Portions. So pasta is okay, but balance it out. Have a bigger piece of meat and have a little bit less pasta. And let's say one day you do have a big pasta and then you're crashing. It's okay. The aim is not to be 100% perfect. Is how can you have this pattern 75% of the time and you will feel the benefits in your energy.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Gina. We're going to move
My
on and
pleasure.
check out what our next guest has. We'll bring you back out in the round robin at the end. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Mindy. Mindy, who are you?
Hi, I'm Mindy Schleger, and I am known as the Food Fitter because I like to, because I like to align people's food choices with their values, their preferences, and their lifestyle. Because if they don't align them, they're really in conflict. And they're really not going to maintain, and they're going to go on one diet or another, and it's not going to work. And go ahead.
So you do one-on-one customized like nutrition plans.
I do.
All right. Cool. Tell
I
me
do.
more.
And I am trained as a food scientist. I went to school for agriculture and life sciences at Cornell University. I studied food all the way from farm to your health. And I worked in the food and pharma industries. I've been trained by chefs. I've been trained by pretty much everyone, including doctors. And I've worked with the different organizations that advise people as to how to manage their health. And I have, most importantly, talked to hundreds of doctors and thousands of people about food behavior and how they make their choices.
All right. So you know just about everything there ever was to know about food. I love it.
Pretty
Let
eclectic.
me ask you this, Mindy. If I wanted to improve my physical health with nutrition, what piece of advice would you give me?
I would tell you to eat the rainbow, coloring your plate, every plate with real food. So when you look at your plate, it should be colored and beautiful and enjoyable. Do you have every color?
No, I only got
No,
cantaloupe.
you're missing
honeydew,
green.
and cress. I got honeydew. It's actually white honeydew.
Great.
Cool. All right. Eat the rainbow. So your tip is to find as many packs of Skittles as possible and put them in your mouth. Is that correct?
With real food.
Real food. So the
Real
opposite of
whole
Skittles.
food. The opposite. I learned to count with peas instead of M&Ms.
Oh.
And I right. So I learned this because I was raised really well with food. My grandmother worked for markets and of all kinds, and she taught me about all kinds of food and how to prepare it. My mom told me what to eat, when to eat, how to balance my meal. and was very strict about that. And my dad actually had ulcers from that he had picked up early in life, in the war, actually, in the war, and so he taught me about being in touch with my body. That actually, when you eat, it takes your brain 20 minutes for it to register that it is actually full or has what it needs. And so you need to slow down, you need to be conscious, and then you need to wait, and you need to enjoy what you're eating, because if you're rushed, you're actually not going to digest it right. You're not going to chew. Digestion begins in the mouth. And so he taught me all of those beautiful habits. And then I studied food from the farm, and all food is life. And we don't often think about that because maybe we're a little uncomfortable, but food is part of the cycle of life, and it's meant to nourish us, and we intuitively know how to survive. The problem is that we're rushed, and that we are not eating all whole foods. We're eating some processed foods, and we're have things in front of us that are not serving us. So put the things in front of you that actually serve you, and you will actually choose those first. And I worked in food industry, and I had learned, well, from my own upbringing, that we don't, if you eat cake and candy and whatever you want, is around you, you're actually not eating. You're actually not getting nourishment. So if you know that you still have to have your nourishment, sometimes that will tell me, okay, I don't want to eat that because then I'm going to overeat. And we're, as a population, overeating and undernourished. And if you go back to whole foods, which is life, it's complex, we don't know but a fraction of all of the interactions that make that food a food, that make us humans. We have little research studies. And food companies, pharma companies, anybody who has to pay for research is going to share with you in the journals, in the media, the research that serves to sell their product.
That's true.
And it's not necessarily terrible, because if you really think about it, that's how they can sell on the shelf, and that's and whatever you buy, that's what they're going to make. It's that simple. But like, if I wanted to promote myself and I had a resume in front of me, I wouldn't put all the bad things about me in that resume.
That's true.
And
That's
you wouldn't expect me to. But for some reason, people need somebody to blame, and they're the ones picking that product up. And they need certain, skills to balance but I think intuitively we actually know. We are designed to have sugar for energy, and if we're also designed to move, but if we're not moving enough, then that sugar is going to not be utilized well. We are designed to utilize fat, because fat and protein together will give us energy as well if we don't have enough sugar. And so everything in food is a sensory aspect. We will crave those things to get what we need to survive. But if we abandon all of the things that we need to do for our lifestyle, and we don't take care of that, and we don't color our plate and eat those real foods that we actually know what to do. And the more that we rely on external instead of internal, the more we will be fooled, the more we will use information badly. And we will not be educated for our own good.
I love it, Mindy. That's awesome. Oh, go
I
ahead.
had a heart issue that was identified early on. And also, even in school, I mean, I learned about all these research studies, which I continue to do, you know. However, they're not necessarily for me. They didn't do the research on nutrition, for instance, with women. They did it with an 18-year-old male who is consuming 2,000 calories. That is not me. I happen to be a petite, small person. And so, and there still is no information on that. So, you know, it's really an individual process. And the more that we learn, the more that we can personalize our nutrition. And that is why our bodies are inflamed, because we're not eating real food, and we're not eating what we really want. Our cravings are for survival. Our full nourishment and nutrition includes spices and all kinds of micronutrients that foods have enzymes in them. They help the digestion, just like the way you see, if you ever go in nature, you see the forest. It all works together. And that's what's happening in our stomach. That's what's happening in our body. That's what's happening in the environment around us. That's what's happening in the world. And we're just very removed from it. And when we get back to that, we reduce the inflammation in our body and we have less disease. 80% is preventable.
That's a very good point, Mindy. Awesome. Well, we're going to move on to and bring Dina back out, and we'll go over each other's tips now. Dina, do you real quickly want to refresh what your tip was for us?
So my first tip was to go back to basics and to balance your blood sugar levels by always combining a carb and protein to stabilize your energy, your cravings, your hunger, and as well help you with focus and as well reaching a healthy weight.
Mindy, what are your thoughts on that tip?
I do the same. I mean, when you color your plate, when you truly color your plate, you're eating a fat and a protein and a carb, and animal products have protein and fat in them, and carbs that are in whole food have fiber and carbohydrates for the most part. And so if you eat all of these together and you have a beautiful, colorful plate on every meal, then you're balanced. And
let's talk more about those colors, Mindy. Let's go over each color and name like 3 or 4 foods that fit that, so viewers that may not know can practice coloring their plate. Can you help with that?
Sure. So if you start with, let's say, breakfast, and you have an egg, and maybe you have quinoa, that's brown. An egg is yellow. It has vitamin A in it, and it has protein in it. Quinoa has fiber in it, and it's high in protein. If you have some fruit or greens with your eggs dish, so for instance, you could have a frittata, which is just mixing the eggs with some vegetables and baking it. Then you have everything all together in that, and you can throw all kinds of things in it, and you can make it beautiful. Because you can actually decorate it, and kids love it because it's fun, right? Because when you decorate things, kids eat it because it's fun. It's like really, really allowing their creativity. And does that help you? And I mean, some other foods maybe, so carrots are orange, blueberries are blue. There's cauliflower that's either white or yellow or purple these days. Yeah. We have greens, all your salads. Your meat is brown typically. Your dairy is usually has some vitamin D, and so we have oranges that have vitamin C. Does that kind of help?
That helps a lot. Dina, when you plan your meals, do you ever think of the color system throughout the day or per meal or anything of that sort?
So the main thing I focus on, I have my carb and my protein, and I just make sure I add two different vegetables that have different colors. So for breakfast today, I
Okay.
had spinach and mushrooms. For lunch later, it's going to be carrots and broccoli. So I make sure I have two different colors of vegetables with that carb and protein as a baseline, which is my bigger focus. Because vegetables for me
What,
are easy to add, but that
what
combination I
about
have to
fruit?
work on.
What about
Fruit,
fruit?
to be honest, I'm not a big fruit person. But my foods actually come in during, I know it's like, I don't know what happened. I'm not tempted by it, but sometimes I might have like an apple and cheese as a snack. So my foods come in more as a snack. Like when I buy a bag, I'm like, I need to go through my apples. But yeah, weird. And an ex-nutritionist that is not too fond of fruits.
Well, Dina, if you're managing your sugar, you're probably your tongue and your sensors are down regulated. So therefore, when you eat a vegetable, you're actually getting sweetness from it. Where somebody who's eating a ton of sugar, they're not, their tongue is numb. They have to eat a lot of more sugar, and fruit is actually it's sugar, it's nature's sugar. So so
But to
that's
go in
perfect.
that, and I am that person who at the end of a meal, I need my little teaspoon of Nutella or one or two squares of
Yeah.
chocolate.
So there you get it. You get it. Yeah.
I get my sugar there. I'm not big tempted by fruits, but I love that little sweetness, and it really makes me feel like my teaspoon. I don't waste it on bread. I just have my little teaspoon, and I'm like, I'm
Right
good
in
to
the
go with
mouth.
my day.
I do the same thing.
All right.
Yeah,
There we have it. Make sure everyone buy Nutella. All right, guys, we are at the
it's fun
point in
for
our
us.
episode where we have to come up with a daily challenge. This is a task every day to improve your physical health with nutrition that takes less than 5 minutes, costs $0, and anyone in the world can do. What are your thoughts or ideas?
If I would go with mine, I tell clients you're eating anyways. So how can you always combine a carb and a protein no matter what?
Carb
Simplicity.
and
So
a
if you
protein.
always carb and protein, you have bread, you have cheese, you have an apple, you have nuts, you have chicken, you have rice. Because you're already eating. Why not just think, how can I get those combinations going?
1-to-1
And that,
ratio.
sorry?
It's a 1-to-1 ratio, carb and protein, right?
Some people it's 1-on-1, some people it's like 2-to-1. I say make it simple for you. Just give it a try and see how you feel with it. Because if you do that for 2 weeks, trust me, you're gonna start seeing like, oh yeah, when I have chicken with my rice, I'm good for 3-4 hours and just going for that chicken and vegetable diet that sometimes people are going for. So just do that combination for a few weeks without having to add anything else. Just that, I'm sure is going to create a lot of energy and change of lifestyle for a lot of clients.
All right, so and I think I like Mindy's. I think that our daily challenge could be this. I would say you can do it at night if you want for the day or the morning for yesterday, but I think we should publicly post that we ate. So there's 7 colors to the rainbow, correct, Mindy?
Roy G. Biv.
Yeah,
Roy.
ROYG. Yeah, okay. Six. Yes, 7, right? So I think that we should post all of our carb protein combos of the day before and the 7 different colors that we ate. This is going to take some planning and thinking.
I have some thoughts. I think variety is the spice of life. So I would love to see what the different vegetables were and fruits, and so because they differ all over the world. And one of the fun things I do is challenge myself to have a new fruit or vegetable,
Mm,
even if a different variety of lettuce or
yeah.
whatever it is. And if we're all posting that, that would be great. And we would see all these wonderful varieties and have
I like
ideas
it.
to try.
So try a new fruit or vegetable out each day.
Well, or yeah, in some, reasonable time frame. Yeah. But if we're doing this every day, sure.
Yeah. So
It's
mine
one
today
new.
is white honeydew. Never had white honeydew before. So
Well,
I'm
that's
already got
fun.
that done. So I'm
Have
gonna
you
I'm gonna
tried
combine.
yellow watermelon?
I have had yellow watermelon. It's actually popular on my island. But I'm going to do all three of those. We're going to try a new vegetable each day, fruit or vegetable each day. We will try to come up with new protein carb combos, which this one might be a little tough. I don't eat too many carbs. And so I might have to message Dina for some help.
So
And then I
you
think that
can
we try
replace your carb with a fruit if you want. Fruits do sometimes fall under carbs. So for you, fruits is
So-
easier than grains. You don't eat fruits?
no, I'm eating a bowl of fruit right now. I have white
where's
cantaloupe,
your
craisins,
protein?
and white honeydew. All right. Yeah, I didn't have any protein yet. Just fruit for the now. And then the goal is to eat all 7 colors.
Very
And you,
nice.
you want 5 fruits and vegetables every day.
Hopefully, you'll get that with all the stuff that we're doing here. You're gonna have a new one every day too. Awesome. Well, then that will be our daily challenge, and we will wrap up the show. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you so much. It was a blast. Definitely learned a lot. Crazy. You always think you know so much, and then you always keep learning. Thank you, Mindy. Thank you, Dina.
Thank you, Austin.
And thank all of you for coming out and watching. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit, and maybe you can challenge and improve your physical health and your nutrition.